What's going on, guys? National Master James Canty III here, and today we're covering how to fight the London system. I'm going to show you guys how I fight the London system. So here we go. Here we go, guys. All right, so I had a game against 2580, something like that. And here it goes. D4, knight f6, bishop f4. So you have the London system. Usually they're going to play knight f3, e3, c3, knight d2, the usual London system stuff. And it's solid. And the stronger they get, the harder it is to fight this London system. So after g6, you have e3. And then bishop g7. I love to play the King's Indian really against everything, especially the London system too. But in the London system, you have problems, especially for people that know or play the London system a lot of times. They know that you're going for knight h5, so they play h3 a lot of times. They back the bishop up, and they kind of get everything that they want. So actually, years ago, years ago actually, I found a way to play against the London system when you're playing the King's Indian defense. And actually, it's this system right here. d6, same stuff, right? Same King's Indian. And then c3. So after c3, now we play this next move, guys. Usually you'll see knight c6 or c5 or even knight d7 here. What I actually play is something completely different. A lot of people haven't seen this, and it's fun. I like playing it. Knight f to d7. This one's a little bit different. Now we're going to play e5, and we're actually going to go for a king side attack very quickly. Let me show you how it works. After knight f to d7, he played bishop c4, which is a move not played as much. Usually you'll see bishop d3. And just other stuff. This is not usually played, but I played e5 anyway. He goes bishop g5. So here I was thinking, do I play bishop f6? Do I play knight f6? And I was like, you know, I don't really want to give the bishop up. Knight f6 looks like that's losing a pawn anyway. So I went queen e8. Interesting move. This move usually isn't that good if he can get knight to b5 or d5 in, but he can't because the knight is on d2. So I played queen e8. I'm also eyeing the h5 square. Watch this. Castles. King h8. So you step out of the way. You always step out of the way so that you can get out of this pin because you want to push the f pawn to use it as an attack. Bishop f4, he went back immediately. And here I thought for a while, I'm like, should I continue development? You know, what do I really want to do? I wanted to play f5, but knight g5 is really annoying. So if I play f5, knight g5, he got all these squares. And he can't really get to f7, but knight e6 is extremely annoying. So, and I probably had knight b6 anyway, and actually it probably wouldn't work because I had h6 and g5. So it looks good, but you know, I just went knight to b6. I wanted to open my bishop line up. Also, I wanted to see if he was really going to give this strong bishop up. Of course, he didn't, and I played e4. Now this one here, I had c5, I had knight c6, even f5, but I was like, I don't know. A lot of times, actually, in the study that I learned when playing this system, it's not a lot of people play this system, is, excuse me, playing e4 is a problem sometimes. They say playing e4, and I played e4, but they say e4 is a problem sometimes because the bishop's back here, and they can be on this diagonal, and it's kind of annoying to face, which ended up kind of happening. He did get the bishop here, but it wasn't annoying. He played knight e1, only move. I did notice this knight was short on spaces, right? So knight g5 runs into h6. So he went knight e1. I went f5, and then now I'm threatening actually h6, g5. And then f4, almost trapping the bishop. Almost, because he could come back to h4. So if something like a3, and then rook c1, g5. So the bishop's not actually trapped, but because he can come back here, but it's still scary for him. It's still scary. So what he did is played bishop g3. He just backed that boy up. Bishop to g3, got out of the way with it on the diagonal now, and I played g5. So now the queen can't come to h5, and I'm also threatening to play f4, and there's really nothing. Look at all these pieces all cramped in here. So after g5, h3, and in this way that you play, you know, the King's Indian defense versus the London system here, what you'll always see in this way, how you play it, is you always get this king side attack very fast. The setup is always the same. We go knight f to d7, then we play e5. Sometimes you'll play knight c6, but this one's a little different. So queen e8, king h8, because you have to get out of here, and then we're going to play f5, e4, and pawn storm him as quickly as possible. That's the system. So e4, f5, g5. He played back voluntarily. Now I played g5. And if he pushes the f pawn, e3 is weak. So if he pushes like f3, this is kind of weak. He could probably play this, but I mean, this is a little weak. f4 is probably still a thing. Knight to c6. And I have some play coming. Like, I'm actually really trying to swing at him as fast as possible. Let's see what the engine likes. Yeah, engine says it's about equal. I should move this knight to d7. That's what it says. That's crazy, though, right? Equal. In this position with these pawns up here like this because we're being aggressive. So he plays h3 instead. I immediately get f3 in, and then he puts his bishop on f2. Instead of capturing, open it up. f3. So if he takes with the g pawn, automatically bishop takes h3, right? And now he's in a lot of trouble. So at this point, I knew he was in trouble, especially after this move g4. Why not g3? Same thing. Bishop takes h3. Even worse. So he plays g4. I knew this was coming too, and I was like, if g4 happens, h5, and we live. h5, and we very live, right? So I played h5. Now I'm hitting it twice. I'm hitting the g4 pawn twice. So he doesn't capture it. He actually plays bishop g3. I take on g4. He takes on g4. I take back. Now my queen's coming in. This is gross. This is absolutely gross at this point. And actually right here, he could have played queen to c2, which I anticipated d5 after queen to c2. Queen c2, d5. See what the engine thinks here. Yeah, it's about equal. Take on c7 is what the best move is. But I mean, as a human, are you really taking on c7 with your king side? Look like you're about to get destroyed here, right? But I did have this in mind. That was my idea. So actually h5, I take on g4, take back, knight to c2 is what he chose. And after this, I was like, this is over. I was going to just play queen h5, but this is hanging, which actually kind of didn't matter. I probably should have played queen h5 anyway. Engine says best move is rook f6. Wow. It's plus -8. You see that, guys? It's like -8, rook f6. I played d5. So let's see what the engine likes about d5. I played d5. It's still winning, but I wanted to defend this pawn. And I also may have even played c6 because I had stuff like, I didn't want him to sacrifice on both of these and then be able to blow open, and I can't actually mate like I thought I was. Now I will be winning material, but it's still a long shot. So rook to e1, I played queen h5, and then after knight takes e4, I played d takes e4, and then the man jumped off the DP and he resigned. It was already over at this point. The game was over. How do you stop queen h3 mate, big fella? You don't. That's how. It doesn't. There is no way to stop this mate coming right here. Actually, you know what? Rook f1, queen h3, knight e1. But then I'm playing rook f6 and mate anyway. That's the only way to stop it. But at this point, I mean, look at the pieces. Haven't even passed the third rank here, guys. This was a very easy win for me because I'm familiar with with what to do here. This was a London system, guys, but we ended up crushing it playing the game that we play. King's Indian against everything, no matter what, basically, except e4, right? But King's Indian, KID for life. We play d6, and they're expecting you to play something else. Knight c6, knight d7, even b6, bishop b7. But they never expect this plan. Knight f to d, play e5. Queen e8 is not necessary, but I do like playing it sometimes because when you do get g5 in, the h5 square is usually open for you. But if the bishop's on e2, sometimes they play it like this. Instead of bishop c4, they go bishop e2, and it's a little bit different now. Now they go here, king h8 anyway, and then sometimes knight to c6, but you can play f5 now. Then I'll play h6 and g5 or f4. And it's a little bit different, but the bishop's on e2, so if I put the queen on e8, sometimes if I get g5 in, the bishop can come to h5 and actually stop your queen from moving too much because the queen's on d1. But he played bishop c4, more of an aggressive way to play, and we still got the same setup we wanted. Queen e8, king h8, knight b6, we hit the bishop, and we also open up the line, e4, then we played f5. So now we're about to pawn storm him. He moves it back. Easy. g5, there is no queen h5 to stop or try to mess this up. f4, and we came right through there very quickly. You see, he hadn't even had time to do anything else but defend after we castle quickly like we do in the King's Indian, and then we start pushing the pawns here. This is probably the fastest way you can attack here in the London system on the King side. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video here. KID versus the London, King's Indian defense versus the London system. I know people have been wondering, how do you do it? And this is how I actually play it this way. This is my favorite way to play, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Put the likes, the shares, the comments, subscribe to the video, guys. Appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next video.